at camp, seeking a new deal. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He says his agent and the Dallas front office haven't even been in contact. For much more on Micah Parsons, let's bring in the guy that always has to represent the star, even on days like this, our former Cowboy, Marcus Spears. Swagoo, what was your immediate reaction to Parsons' trade request?
Hell, first of all, I love your tone because I'm so tired. I don't want anybody else to tell me to calm down today. I don't want to hear it. Hell, you know how it's that kid that just picks on you at school?
Yes.
And everybody like, turn the other cheek, just chill out, go. No, it's time to punch him in the face, okay? Because it's not going to stop until you do it. That is how I felt when I heard about Micah Parsons wanting a trade request. I just wanted to punch the Dallas Cowboys in the face. And it's not because of a negotiation, right? We've all seen these things play out. Myles Garrett just had a trade request with the Cleveland Browns, ends up with the richest contract in the NFL as a defensive player. It's this particular team, the team that I love and that I follow, that continues to do the same thing every single offseason. They eventually end up signing the superstar, but they refuse to acknowledge that it affects the team and how they play football when the season starts. Now you got other teammates that are in the middle of a training camp with a new head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, a new defense coordinator in Eventual, that got to deal with potentially not having their superstar defensive end, who accounts for about 25% of this team's pressure on defense, which means he's a one-man wrecking crew and is on pace to be a generational talent. So I don't want anybody. I done got text and on X and Instagram, stop telling me to calm down. I'm not going to do it because it's not about Micah Parsons' contract. It's about the drama that consistently happens with the Dallas Cowboys that affects the way that they play football. This is the ever-revolving cycle. We in phase 2 of the Dallas Cowboys. Go into the offseason with expectations. Don't sign your superstar player until the day before the season and sit your ass at home and watch the playoffs. So phase 3, everybody gonna get mad again and we're gonna start this revolving cycle once more.
Yeah, listen, what's the adage, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You mentioned it. We're always here with this team. Dak last year, CeeDee Lamb last year, and CeeDee Lamb actually tweeted this, quote, never fails, dog. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular. And Swagger, we also saw some notable teammates change their profile pictures to include a picture of Micah Parsons standing in solidarity publicly. And I'm wondering, how does that kind of fracture, especially this close to the start of the season, affect the locker room trying to build that chemistry, trying to chase a title?
And El, honestly, that's why I'm pissed off. Because now it's separation of church and state, right? Like the front office is not a part of the Cowboys. That's how this team looks at it. And everybody, again, always tell, man, the players got to play. They got to show up on the field and do their thing. Organizations that are well run, that handle their business, and everybody is pulling in one direction are the teams that we usually see have success. Obviously, you got to have the talent. You got to have the X's and O's and the coaches. But there's a part of professional sports, especially in pro football, where your synergy, the character of the people in the building have to align in order for you to have success. Football has more staff than any other professional sport. It is vitally important for people to be on the same page if you're going to try to accomplish winning a championship. And here we are again with the face of one of the faces of your franchise back in this ever-revolving cycle, now asking for a trade request. And you know what, El? It's a little part of me that is hoping Micah stand on business. It's a little part of me that wants this not to work out the way the Cowboys usually thinks it's going to work out, where you go throw the boatload of money and they eventually sign. Usually it turns out the other way and you end up getting a deal done. But there is something to be said for this organization and this team for always seemingly to end up in this position, but continues to try to throw this thing on the outside like this doesn't affect the actual playing of football and trying to win a championship. And that is where I'm pissed off at. The Micah Parsons negotiation, the deal, the trade, all of that type of stuff, we can assume that it's going to get done. If it doesn't get done, you get compensation for getting rid of a player like him. But what we also can assume And we can base this off of a lot of history. And a lot of evidence is that the Cowboys ain't gonna do nothing this football season.
You want to play, you want to be active, but in the same breath, you don't want to go out on the field knowing that, you could get injured and you've got a lucrative contract down the pike for the future. I'm just looking at some of these contracts that involved Jerry Jones over the last several years, and it involved holdouts. I remember Dez Bryant in 2015, 5 years, $70 million, $45 million guaranteed. Ezekiel Elliott, remember him, 6 years, $90 million, $50 million guaranteed. Zach Martin, August of 2023, 2 years, $36.85 million. That was fully guaranteed. CeeDee Lamb missed all of training camp, all of that stuff, and he ultimately signed on August 26th, 4 years, $136 million with $100 million guaranteed. And of course, the most conspicuous one was for Dak Prescott, September 8th of last year, 4 years, $240 million, $231 million guaranteed for a quarterback that's entering his 10th year and has 2 playoff victories. That last part is important. And here's the reason why. Because Jerry Jones has actually brought that contract up to justify holding out on signing Micah Parsons. He hasn't done that with any other player that I mentioned or anybody else for that matter. Hasn't done it. But when it comes to this particular contract with Micah Parsons, what he's trying to say is that, damn it, that damn Dak Prescott burnt me. But the problem is Dak Prescott was injured last year, missing the last 9 games of the season. What you should have said was, I held out on paying Dak Prescott because of what he did for me the first 8 years, which wasn't enough, and I shouldn't have gave him the damn money last year. That's what you should have said, which is on Jerry. But you can't use that analogy because that ain't Micah Parsons' problem. Micah Parsons is one of the top 5 defensive players in the National Football League in the eyes of many. He's an elite pass rusher, 12 sacks or more over the last 4 years. Only the great Reggie White has done that in NFL history. 52.5 sacks, for crying out loud, in his career, 112 quarterback hits. What this man brings to the table, he deserves his bag, he deserves his paper. But here's the biggest reason why, and this is where Micah Parsons compares to a Terry McLaurin. Micah Parsons has been somebody that is a benefit and an additive to the Dallas Cowboys locker room and to the Dallas Cowboys culture. He wanted to sign earlier, was willing to take less earlier, and Jerry Jones and those guys didn't want to entertain it. They wanted to make him wait. And so what we have to remember and understand, this isn't a dude that's just holding out because contract negotiations haven't gone well over the last couple of months. This is a guy that's been waiting over a year now to do a deal, was willing to do it less, was kept waiting, and then when he talked to Jerry Jones and things were going well, it nosedived once his agent got involved. You, Jerry Jones, you a businessman. What the hell are you doing talking to a player to the point where when he gets his agent involved, suddenly you ain't happy? It's not the player's job to negotiate his deal. It's the agent's job. But now you want to put him behind the 8 ball and take advantage of him by making sure that you get to do business with somebody you know ain't qualified to negotiate against you. That's his agent's job. It's slick stuff like that that we have to speak out against. Because normally they're telling the player, look, man, leave that to your agent. We ain't going to talk business with you directly. But now you want to do that and you want to punish him for getting a person that he's hired to actually do the business that he's qualified to do. It's ridiculous, and we need to make sure we say so.
So, Chris, you heard Steven talk about how the 52.5 sacks, he trails only Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Trey Hendrickson, and Nick Bosa in that category.
Pretty good list to be on.
The importance of Micah Parsons and the fact that the Dallas Cowboys have 6-1 odds to win that division behind the Eagles and the Commanders. Where does this end?
Well, it ends with Jerry eventually caving in and giving Micah Parsons the contract. So I know there's a lot of bluster. I think that's just a part of how Jerry negotiates through the media. That's a tactic that he's always employed. He eventually caves, as he did with all of those major contract negotiations. Remember, Zeke Elliott went down to Cabo and said, holla at me when you got a contract on the table. He signed right before the season started. So I don't think Jerry has any illusions of his team getting to where he wants to go without Micah Parsons, because he is the best player on the Dallas Cowboys.